Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the books I was able to read in June. We're going to do another tier ranking video because I had so much fun with the last one and changed up our categories a little bit this time. So this time we have, starting at the bottom, no, just no. Above that we've got, I read it. Okay. Third place, we have I'm Embracing It. You know what? It had some problems, but I will deal with it. Fourth, we have So Flippin' Good. And on top, we have Mind Equals Blown. So we're going to get started going through these in the order that I read them in the month of May. So here we go. Starting out, I read A Line to Kill. This is actually the third book in this series, and I found it randomly at the library for like $1, and I was like, whatever, I'm just starting it there. So I don't feel like I missed a whole lot. They're kind of very like standalone novels, but the interesting thing about these, which I'd seen before, but it's basically Anthony Horowitz writes himself into these murder mystery stories, and his main character is Hawthorne, and he's like coming along, so it's as if he's documenting what's really happening, but it's in a fiction sense. And so it was very, very interesting in that I've never read a book written that way. And so just for that, I was just like, I have to give this So Flipping Good, because it's rare to come across things that I'm just like, I've never seen this done before. I've never seen anybody do this. And overall, it was a really good murder mystery. It was really fun. And yeah, that one was great. Next up, we read The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. And I wanted to love this book so much. And I didn't love it so much that I actually made a full video about it. So I'll link that somewhere around here. And you can see all of my thoughts on that if you want. But basically, this was a book I went into expecting to be like a 5-star, just like, oh, this is great, I love it. And in reality, it ended up being, well, I read it and it's done now. So woot. So that was that one. Yeah, more thoughts if you want to have all the thoughts. Next up, we had Life Force, which is Tony Robbins' new book. That is definitely going to be going in the So Flipping Good. Tony Robbins' books are insanely not dense in the sense of hard to get, but dense in that there's so much information in them. But I just love the format that he does for books. And so that one is his newest book, all about regenerative health and all the breakthroughs in health and wellness science and stuff right now. And super, super fascinating book. It was great. Next, we had one of the Jack Sparrow series. William asked me to read this for him because he wanted to read it from the library. And it was meh. I was like, nope, there's better things for you to read. So that was that one. Next up, we had one of Stephen King's novels I have never finished. I started The Stand, and I'm debating going back and trying to finish it, but I've never finished a Stephen King fiction. I read his book on writing, which was like one of my favorite books ever. It was so good. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll try another one of his. I actually heard Haley from BookTube talking about this Billy Summers one, and I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. So I picked that up, really loved it up until about 3/4 of the way through, and then kind of the final everything, the way everything got wrapped up and the final reasons behind what was going on and whatever, I was kind of like, oh, that's not my fave, but ended up being, I'm embracing it. Like, it was good. It's really good writing. It was really fast paced, really fun and easy to read. So we're just going with that. Next up, we had Charlotte's Web. William is reading Charlotte's Web in school. And so we were listening to the audiobook of it one day. And it's E.B. White who was reading the audiobook. And I am not even joking when I say, like, I lost my mind every time he would read The Goose. Because the way that he would like repeat the words that the goose says of like the probably, like, I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And I was like, I have to read this whole book. I literally don't remember reading this book as a kid. I'm sure mom read it to us, but for some reason I don't remember it. So I was like, I'm gonna read it. So I went through and read it myself. Actually, I finished listening to the audiobook, and it was so flipping good. Like, especially the audiobook. I loved when authors read their books, because even though sometimes it's not as good as like a professional voiceover person, like they know how they want it to sound and like how it sounds in their head. And so I love that. And so that audiobook of him reading it was just great. It was absolutely great. Next up, we had Living Fearless by Jamie Winship. I picked this book up because my uncle actually sent me a series of sermons from Jamie, and I'm going to be doing a full top shelf video about this book because this book and the message that this guy shares is literally the most life-changing spiritual thing that I think I've ever come across. And it has just dramatically changed my life and my wife's life in the past couple of weeks, really. And so that one is just like so top tier, amazing. There's going to be a long video coming out about that one. So if you're interested, it will be there. Next up, we had the story of Rolf and the Viking bow. This is one of my favorites from childhood. I hadn't read it in I don't even know how many years, and decided to pick it up and try it again. And it wasn't as good as I remembered, or it wasn't as action filled as I remembered. I'll put it that way. But just partially, even just for nostalgia's sake, it was just, I loved it. I loved it. It was so good. It's an old Alan French classic. There's a couple of other books that I have of his that are still just really, really great old young people stories. So back when stories for young people were much better. So then we had the Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. I listened to this one. I really want to read some more about Ben Franklin and wanted to get into Walter Isaacson's super big biography of him. And then was like, Ben Franklin has a little autobiography. So I listened to that. That was great. I loved it. I listened to it when I was in the middle of mowing a friend's yard, and so I wasn't super as focused on it as I want to be. So I want to go back and read it again because there was really a lot of stuff there that I wanted to pull out of it. But yeah, definitely that one was, again, so flipping good. Next, we had another poetry book. A buddy of mine who is very much into poetry had suggested Emily Dickinson because I very much like rhythm and meter and rhyme, and I like poems that sound like poems traditionally, and modern poetry is a little bit harder for me. So he's like, oh, you'll definitely like this one. And so I've been reading this one over the course of 2 months or something like that. And I really want to put it up here, but I'm going to have to put it, and I'm embracing it because I don't love it yet. Poetry is still hard for me. I'm still trying to work on it. I'm still growing. And yeah, so right now I'm embracing it, and I did enjoy reading it. And then second to last, we had Answers in Genesis. I've been having a discussion with a buddy of mine about evolution, creation, all the stuff, and was really just like, I don't know enough, dude. And we were both having like a lot of questions that we had that were like, I don't know the answers to these, and I want to find some stuff to give me some more knowledge about these topics. And so we had this book because my son is insanely interested in dinosaurs. And so I was like, well, I'm going to have to figure out what I think about all this stuff and actually have more of an opinion that's based on realistic, actual having thought about it and not just, I don't know. So this one, mind blown, so good. Completely changed my mind on a couple of really big points, and definitely planning on actually doing another top shelf episode about this book because it drastically reframed how I view kind of that whole debate and really what I think is the proper way to view it. So I really want to share some of those thoughts. And then finally, we had The Master and Margarita. And again, this was a book that I was like expecting to be like, oh man, I had heard Jordan Peterson recommend it, and I freaking love Jordan Peterson. And I got it, and I forced myself to get through it as fast as I could because just from the start, I just didn't like it. And I was like waiting for it to redeem itself and to feel like oh yeah, I got this out of it. And it was just no, just no. I just didn't like it. I got rid of it when I got done with it. I was like, I don't even care enough to try to read this again and try to figure out what it's trying to say. I just don't like it. So that one was definitely a swing and a miss. But yeah, that's what we had. So that was everything that I read in May. It was not too bad of a month. I was busy. I was on some trips and stuff. And so, yeah, didn't get to read quite as much as I wanted to, but still had some really, really good books in there. So Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you like them. Also, leave me a comment. Let me know what your favorite book was from the month of May. I'm literally always looking for good new books to read. And so I love getting suggestions from you guys. I literally have a spreadsheet that I keep all of them on who suggested it, if I've read it, if I've let you know that I read it and what my thoughts were and all that. And so I love hearing from you guys. Please leave me a comment below. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do that. That way you won't miss any videos. I have been very crazy with a bunch of work trips. And so videos are kind of sporadic right now, but trying to keep them coming out fairly consistently. And yeah. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.